वयं पारिभाषिक पदावल्यां निर्विकल्पकं सविकल्पकम् इति विषये प्रत्यक्ष विषये एव अलौकिक सन्निकर्षः इति विषये तथैव समयः यदि भवति अभावस्य प्रत्यक्षत्वं कथम् इति त्रीन् विषयान् पश्यामः. We will discuss three things today. Number one, nirvikalpaka, indeterminate cognition, indeterminate perception. Number two, alaukika pratyaksha. The alaukika pratyaksha is one kind of pratyaksha which is not describable by a layman. Number three is the perceptual cognition of abhava, negation or non-existence. You may call it like that. First thing is nirvikalpaka. The concept of nirvikalpaka has got its own place in all Indian darshanas, all systems of Indian philosophy. There are many versions about nirvikalpaka. First of all, we have to understand why nirvikalpaka is required. Number one is the necessity of nirvikalpaka. Number two is how our darshanikas describe nirvikalpaka in their own way. We will discuss first the nirvikalpaka, the necessity of nirvikalpaka. You all know about pratyaksha. Pratyaksha is perceptual cognition. Easily we can say perception, perceptual cognition. The cognition which arises with the contact between senses and the objects. If you think, if an object present before you, naturally it will be noticed, perceived by your sense that is called chakshus, eyes. One good thing is there, both eyes are one organ. You cannot say each eye has got organship, separate organship. You cannot say like that. That is another part. Take the case of chakshusha pratyaksha, the perception which emerges through the eyes. That is called chakshusha pratyaksha. Chakshusha pratyaksham katham bhavati. Chakshusha ghatena sambandha. Take the case of pot. The pot is having the conjunction, sanyoga with eyes. Hence, the eyes grasp the pot. The form of the cognition is like that. I am ghataha. I am Ghata. I am is this is a part. I am Ghata. This much everyone knows. But like in the case of eyes, in the other organs also, are helpful to grasp the objects. Skin and like the skin and our nose, everything is called indriya. I translate like sense or organ, sense organs in that way. Grana, rasana, chakshu, tvak, shrotrani, indriyani, bhutebhya. That is Gautama Sutra. So sometimes we have to get the authentication also. Grana, rasana, chakshu, tvak, shrotrani, indriyani, bhutebhya. There are 5 senses, 5 sense organs. For instance, we will take only one thing, the eyes. The eyes have got contact with the thing which is existent before the person. The eyes go to that object, that is called prapya karitva. In the scientific concept may differ, scientists may differ, but the Tarkikas say like this: the eyes have contact with object. How does it happen? How does the contact happen? Eyes go to the object and pervade. Eyes go to the object and pervade the object. Then the object is grasped. Then knowledge emerges. This is ghata. This is a part. Here comes nirvikalpaka and savikalpaka, this kind of bheda. Atra nirvikalpakam savikalpakam iti bhedaha vartate. The first cognition is called nirvikalpaka. The second one is called savikalpaka. We can conclude like that. The first cognition is nirvikalpaka. Second cognition is savikalpaka. What is the necessity of nirvikalpaka? What is the shape of nirvikalpaka? Nirvikalpaka has no form at all. According to Nyaya, according to Tarkika, nirvikalpaka has no form at all. We cannot describe this the form of nirvikalpaka. You can explain. You can say utter. This is the form of savikalpaka. I am ghataha iti savikalpakasya akara. You can say I am ghata is the form of savikalpaka, but you cannot say that this is the form of nirvikalpaka. That's why it is called nirvikalpaka. That's why it is called nirvikalpaka. It cannot be explained. It cannot be described because it has no form at all. Form akara. When the person gets the cognition of one object, before that nirvikalpaka emerges. But nirvikalpaka being a cognition, nirvikalpaka being a cognition, it has many objects are objects. Jnana shall have object. Without an or many objects, a jnana cannot be called a jnana. Jnanam vishayam vina jnanam na bhavati. Jnanam chet kaschana vishayaha bhavet. Here, in the case of Nirvikalpaka, which emerges at the first instance, has some Vishaya, some object. But Nirvikalpaka cannot be described, cannot be uttered, because in that Nirvikalpaka, objects are there, but the objects are having no contact with jnana. What does it mean? I am explaining this one. The objecthood, you can call it being an objecthood is there. You take the case of I am Ghataha. I am is the thing existing before you. Purovarti padartha. In that Purovarti padartha, in that object, we have one objecthood called Visheshyata. That is called Visheshyata. In that, another object, that is called Ghatatva. That is called Ghatatva. Ghatatva is the universal, attributed by or to Ghata, part, Ghatatva. Or Ghatatva is an universal. Ghatatva is one universal which is staying in all substratums, all parts. Okay, I am Ghataha. Here we find three objecthoods. One is Visheshyata. Another is Prakarata. The Visheshyata exists in Visheshya. Visheshya means prominent object. Visheshya means prominent object. Another objecthood is called Prakarata. Another objecthood is called Prakarata. Prakarata resides in Prakara. Visheshana, the qualifier. The qualifier possesses Prakarata. Now, the Prakarata exists in Ghatatva. Ghatatva is the qualifier. Prakarata is qualifier hood. Visheshanata is qualifier hood. There is a subtle difference between Prakarata and Visheshanata. I will come back, because if necessary I will come, otherwise it will confuse you. It's okay. The Prakarata exists in Prakara. Normally we translate it Visheshana, you say Visheshana. The Ghatatva, here in the case of I am Ghata, the form of the knowledge is, cognition is I am Ghata. Ghatatva has got Prakarata. I am means Purovarti Padartha, the thing stays before you, before me or you. There you have Visheshyata. The another objecthood is there. Another objecthood is there, that is called samsargata. Ghatatva is, I use only the word ghatatva, that is the universal, that is pertaining to all parts, the universal, the generic property, which is present in all parts, that is called ghatatva. Now, come to the point. The ghatatva has got prakarata. The purovritti padartha has got visheshyata. In between two objecthoods, we have another objecthood called samsargata. Samsarga means samsarga. Samsarga means, samsargata means the being a samsarga. Samsarga means that is relationship. Relationship, being relationship. Samsargata means being relationship. Okay. I already told prakarata and visheshyata have got some subtle difference. Without explaining that, I don't want to go ahead. The thing is, you can call it visheshanata. You can call it prakarata. Then why you call prakarata here? Why don't you call visheshanata? This question may arise. Na? What is the difference is, when knowledge is being explained, the nature of knowledge, the form of knowledge is described. While we are describing the knowledge, the form of knowledge, you use the word prakarata. Visheshanata is a common thing. You use knowledge. If you discuss knowledge, if you don't discuss knowledge, the visheshanata will remain there. The visheshanata will remain. You see, this is the book. You see, this is the book. This book has color. If you perceive, if you know this book, if you don't know this book, the color will remain there itself. Then the color is visheshana. The color is not prakara. You should not use the word prakara there. When you describe the knowledge, I have a notion of this book which is having the color, then the color becomes prakara. Prakara. Simply saying, the color is prakara to the knowledge, the color is visheshana to the subject, the visheshya. But as far in the case of visheshya, there is no differentiation. While discussing knowledge, while discussing the swarupa as it is, nature, while discussing the nature of the thing, while discussing the jnana, knowledge, as well as the knowledge, the visheshyata is same. Visheshyata is same. I think I have explained to the satisfaction of you. I am coming to the point where the nirvikalpaka comes. Nirvikalpaka is the concept of darshanikas, philosophers. Without nirvikalpaka, savikalpaka does not emerge. Without nirvikalpaka, savikalpaka doesn't emerge. Why? Why? The nirvikalpaka is the cognition of the qualifier. In Nyaya Siddhanta, in Nyaya Mate, Vishishta Jnanam Prati Visheshana Jnanam Karanam. The cognition of the qualifier leads to or causes Vishishta Jnana. Vishishta means qualificant. Qualified, like that. You can qualified. If you want to have the cognition of a qualified thing, you should have first the cognition of qualifier. Without the knowledge of the qualifier, you cannot have the knowledge of qualificant or qualified. Vishishta. One instance is there. I am Dandi. Dandi means Dandavan. The person possesses danda, stick in his hand or somewhere. The possessor of danda, stick, is called Dandi. Okay. Without knowing danda, how can you know Dandi? Danda jnanam vina, dandinaha katham jnanam bhavati. Without knowing danda, how can you know Dandi? How can you know? This is called Vishishta Jnanam Prati Visheshana Jnanam Karanam. Is it okay? Now, coming to the Nirvikalpaka, Ayam Khataha Iti Savikalpakam. This is a part, is Savikalpaka. This means Purovarti Padartha. That is Visheshya. Part means Ghatatva. Actually, part means a part, but part means a thing which has Ghatatva. Partness. You can call it partness. So now the partners, the knowledge of partners leads to the knowledge of Purovarti qualified by partners. The Purovarti qualified by partners can be known with the knowledge prior. With the prior knowledge of Ghatatva, partners. First, you have to know partners. Then, Ayam Ghataha. This kind of knowledge would emerge. This is the position. Now, in the case of Nirvikalpaka grasps Ghatatva, partners. Nirvikalpaka grasps Ghata, also the Purovarti. The thing which is presented before. And Nirvikalpaka grasps the relationship between Ghatatva and Purovarti. Three things are grasped by Nirvikalpaka. Ayam Ghataha, that is Savikalpaka. Before that, Nirvikalpaka is there. Nirvikalpaka grasps three things. Ghatatva, Samsarga means relationship. Samsarga and Purovarti. Three things are grasped by Nirvikalpaka. But the notion of Ghatatva only is helpful to Savikalpaka. Of course, Nirvikalpaka Nirvikalpaka has the reach of three things, all three objects. But the notion of Ghatatva, as it is Visheshana Jnana, it leads to Ayam Ghataha, Ghatatva Vishishtaha Ayam. This kind of Savikalpaka. I think I hope I am not boring you. If you have any problem, please tell me, because the Nirvikalpaka concept is very, very difficult.
Mahodaya, tatra निर्विकल्पक ज्ञानस्य कोऽपि आकारः नास्ति इति उक्तं भवद्भिः।
आकारः नास्ति।
केनापि रूपेण तस्य कथनं न अयं किञ्चित् इत्यादिकमपि यत्किञ्चित्
पुस्तके अस्ति तद् अशुद्धं। पुस्तके अस्ति चेत् अशुद्धम्। इदं किञ्चित् इति यत्किञ्चित् इति तर्कसङ्ग्रह पुस्तके प्रिण्ट् अस्ति किल तद् अशुद्धं।
तर्हि निर्विकल्पकेन यदि घटत्वस्य संसर्गस्य पुरोवर्ति पदार्थस्य च यदि ग्रहणं क्रियते तर्हि सविकल्पकेन किम् अधिकतया क्रियते?
सम्यक् yes सम्यक् that is a question. Yes, Nirvikalpaka has got all these things as objects. Then what is the necessity of Savikalpaka? Sir, Nirvikalpaka grasps these things separately. Nirvikalpaka, though it grasps these things, but the Purovritti Padartha is not grasped as a qualified. Purovritti Padartha is grasped. Samsarga, the relationship is grasped, and Ghatatva is grasped, but that Visheshya, that is Purovritti Padartha is not grasped as a qualified one. In Samskrite, idam Vishishta Jnanam nasti, Nirvikalpakam Vishishta Jnanam nasti. Maya idam tu punah uttam asti. Yadyapi trayaha vishayaha tatra grihitaha. Tathapi Ghatatva Jnanameva atra apekshitam asti. Ghatatva Jnanameva apekshitam asti. Without connection, that is not correct translation. The connection is there. Connection is the relationship. That is also grasped. But I will explain. Then you separately. Ayam, Ghatatvam and Samsarga are separately grasped in Nirvikalpaka. But Nirvikalpaka doesn't. Nirvikalpaka is not Savikalpaka because it doesn't grasp as Vishishta. It doesn't grasp Purovarti Padartha as Vishishta. It is very difficult for me also. I will explain like that. First, I will explain in Sanskrit, then I will come to English. Ghatatvam Purovarti Padartha Samsargaha Trayaha api Nirvikalpake Vishaya. Parantu Nirvikalpaka Jnanam Ghatatva Prakaraka Purovarti Visheshaka Samavaya Sambandha, the Purovarti and Ghatatva both have the relationship called Samavaya. Since Ghatatva is universal. Since Ghatatva is universal, it has the connection relationship called Samavaya. Okay. Now you see, Samavaya is grasped. Ghatatva is grasped. But Samskrite vadami Ghatatva prakaraka Purovritti Visheshaka Jnanam Nabhavati. Ghatatva prakaraka Purovritti Visheshaka Jnanam Nirvikalpakam Nabhavati. What does it mean? Normally, in the Savikalpaka, Ayam Ghata is Savikalpaka. In the Savikalpaka, Ghatatva is stated as Prakara. Purovarti is stated as Visheshya. Okay. In other words, Savikalpaka, these words, kindly notice these words. Here, everyone has the confusion. In Savikalpaka, Ghatatva is grasped as Prakara. The Purovarti is grasped as qualified, the Visheshya. Some people say like that. I say again, in Savikalpaka, Ghatatva is perceived as Prakara. Purovarti is perceived as Visheshya. In Nirvikalpaka, Ghatatva is there, Ghatatva is perceived, Purovarti is also perceived, but not as Prakara, not as Visheshya, respectively. People used to say like that. People used to say like that. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. If you want, I will say again. I will explain again. In Savikalpaka, Ghatatva, first you have to conclude. Ghatatva is Prakara, Purovarti is Visheshya. There you should have no ambiguity. That is the position. But in Savikalpaka, Ghatatva is conceived. Sorry, Ghatatva is perceived as Prakara. Purovarti is perceived as Visheshya. Whereas in the case of Nirvikalpaka, Ghatatva is perceived, Purovarti is also perceived, but not as Prakara or Visheshya, respectively. People used to say like that. It is incorrect. It is incorrect. It is incorrect. Why? Why incorrect? If you take the case of Savikalpaka, if you have any doubt, please ask me. If you take the case of Savikalpaka, in the Savikalpaka, Ghatatva is an object as well as Purovarti. Okay. But nobody knows Ghatatva is Prakara in my knowledge. But the Purovarti is Visheshya in my knowledge. Nobody understands like that. That Savikalpaka itself is nature, it is by nature. By nature. Ghatatva Prakaraka and Ghata Visheshaka, Purovarti Visheshaka. Savikalpaka by nature, Ghatatva Prakaraka and Purovarti Visheshaka. Savikalpaka doesn't notice, doesn't grasp Ghatatva as Prakara. Difference is known, I think. Savikalpaka is Ghatatva Prakaraka. Savikalpakam Ghatatva Prakarakam bhavati. Savikalpakam Purovarti Visheshakam bhavati. Savikalpakam Ghatatvam Prakaraha iti na Vishayi karoti. It is Ghatatva Prakaraka. It is Ghatatva Prakaraka. It is Purovarti Visheshaka. Nature of Savikalpaka is like that. One thing is Prakara and another thing is Visheshya. But Savikalpaka doesn't grasp that Ghatatva is Prakara. So this Prakarata, Visheshyata is not objects in Savikalpaka. Simply we can say prakarata. Though ghatatva is prakara in that knowledge, Savikalpaka knowledge, though purovritti is visheshya in that knowledge, Savikalpaka doesn't grasp as prakara as visheshya. It is gadatva. Savikalpakam jnanam gadatva prakarakam. Savikalpakam jnanam gadatva prakarakam. Savikalpakam jnanam purovritti visheshya. But don't say savikalpaka jnanam gadatvam prakarattvena grinhati. Prakarattvena grinhati. Savikalpaka jnanam purovritti padartham visheshyattvena grinhati. As visheshya, as prakara, it doesn't grasp. Okay. Okay. Then what is the difference? What is the difference then? What is difference? This nirvikalpaka doesn't have. See, nirvikalpaka does have ghatatva as prakara. Sorry, nirvikalpaka does grasp ghatatva and purovritti. Savikalpaka also does the same thing. But what is the difference? Savikalpaka ghatatva prakaraka bhavati. Nirvikalpaka ghatatva prakaraka na bhavati. It means in nirvikalpaka, ghatatva is object. Purovritti is an object. Purovritti also an object. But purovritti is not visheshya. Ghatatva is not prakara. Whereas in Savikalpaka, ghatatva is prakara, purovritti is visheshya. That is the difference. Then the question, I think I have explained enough. Both cognitions have similar objects. Anyuna anathrik, similar objects, but the nirvikalpaka doesn't have that objects as prakara or visheshya. There is a difference between holding as prakara, holding as visheshya, and perceiving as prakara, perceiving as visheshya. This difference, you notice it. Holding as prakara, holding or having or holding that prakara, the Savikalpaka has got ghatatva as prakara. Savikalpaka has got purovritti as prakara, as visheshya. You should not say Savikalpaka grasps ghatatva as prakara. The word grasp should not be used in the case of prakara and visheshya. By nature, Savikalpaka is ghatatva prakaraka. By nature, Savikalpaka is purovritti visheshya. But Savikalpaka doesn't grasp as prakara as visheshya. Okay. In other
Samskrite. अच्छा, तत्र अन्यः प्रश्नः कश्चन तत्र स्क्रीन् मध्ये भवद्भिः उक्तमपि तत्र स्क्रीन् मध्ये लिखितं वर्तते संसर्गः अपि निर्विकल्पकस्य पृथक्तया ज्ञानविषयः भवितुम् अर्हति तत्र किञ्चित् वदन्ति वा आचार्याः तत्र इदानीं संसर्गः कथां संसर्गिभ्यां विना स्वीक्रियते
वदामि महोदय यतः मया तदपि उच्यते चेत् किञ्चित् कन्फ्यूषन् अधिकं भवति इति मया नोक्तम् अहम् अवश्यं वक्ष्यामि संसर्गः अपि निर्विकल्पके विषयः एव तत्र किं भवति निर्विकल्पके संसर्गता नास्ति निर्विकल्प इदं वाक्यं भवन्तः कण्ठस्थीकृत्य स्थापयन्तु मया बहु परिश्रमेण अयं विषयः गृहीतः संसर्गता निर्विकल्पके नास्ति प्रकारता निर्विकल्पके नास्ति विशेष्यता निर्विकल्पके नास्ति सविकल्पके अस्ति इत्येव भेदः सविकल्पकं प्रकारतया विषयीकरोति इति न वक्तव्यं विषयीकरोति इति शब्दः मास्तु अस्ति इति शब्दः प्रयोक्तव्यः संसर्गता निर्विकल्पक all three objecthoods are not in nirvikalpaka whether it is the samsargata whether it is prakarata whether it is visheshyata all these the objecthoods are not grasped by it is incorrect not in nirvikalpaka okay that is the position of Nyaya. Because if one question may arise, sir, this samsargata, visheshyata, or prakarata, these are the things reside in only objects. Na? These are the things reside in objects. Savikalpake nasti iti katham uchyate. Savikalpake nasteva. Do you understand this? My question. Do you understand my question? Samsargata, prakarata, visheshyata are not present in savikalpaka. Often I am repeating this matter. But actually it is not there. Samsargata is there in samsarga. Visheshyata is there in visheshya. Prakarata is there in prakara. The savikalpake nasti. What is the meaning? What is the meaning? Actually, these vishayata, these three objecthoods are called these three things. These three objecthoods are commonly called vishayata. These three objecthoods, three kinds of objecthoods, are called vishayata. Vishayata resides remains in Vishaya only, object only. But this Vishayata, by one sambandha, one peculiar relationship, it can reside in, it can stay in jnana. That is nirupakatva. That is nirupakatta. That is nirupakata. Do you understand this one? Prakarata normally resides in prakara. Visheshyata resides in prakara. But in jnana, it stays by the relationship called nirupakata. Vishayata nirupakam jnanam. That day I explained the nirupakata is there where the two things are separate and the corresponding two things where two things are separate, the attributes of that two things, that those two things should be related mutually. Putratva, pitrutva, karanatva, karyatva, pratyogitva, aniyogitva. That day here it say, yes, Vishayata is, of course, Vishayata is there in Vishaya only. But Vishayata nirupakatvam jnane asti. विषयता निरूपकत्वं ज्ञाने वर्तते. विषयता निरूपकत्वं नाम ज्ञानं ज्ञानं सविषयकम् इत्युच्यते किल. विषयविशिष्टं ज्ञानं भवति. किंचित पदार्थनिष्ठ विषयता निरूपकं ज्ञानं भवति. This is very difficult for you. Vishayata remains in jnana by the relationship called nirupakata. Savikalpaka is like that.
Acharya?
So please tell me, sir. Ask me.
Acharya, I am quoting from Tarka Bhasha. It's about the previous subject what we were discussing, Nirvikalpa Jnana. So why is it called Nirvikalpa Jnanam Avantara Vyaparaha? Can you kindly explain that phrase?
Yes, sir. Avantara Vyapara Visheshana Jnana. That is what I used the word Visheshana Jnana. Without the knowledge of the qualifier, you don't have, you won't have Savikalpaka. That is Avantara Vyapara. First, the Avantara Vyapara means first the contact between senses and object emerges. Then comes Nirvikalpaka. After that, Savikalpaka will come. That's why the Nirvikalpaka is called Avantara Vyapara. Okay. Avantara Vyapara, in between two things it is there. In between two things, Savikalpaka and the contact, Indriya Sannikarsha. The contact is called Indriya Sannikarsha. Between two things it is there.
Thank you, Acharya.
That is, I have already explained the Visheshana Jnana, in other words. Okay. Now, the Vishayata is there in Jnana by the relationship called Nirupakata. Okay. So, the Savikalpaka is that which has Vishayata, which has all three kind of Vishayata. All three kind of Vishayata by the relationship called Nirupakata. Okay. Nirvikalpaka is that it has in Nirvikalpaka all three kinds of Vishayata don't exist by the nature of Nirupakata. That is the difference. In Nirvikalpaka, all three kinds of Vishayata don't exist by the relationship called Nirupakata. They do exist in Savikalpaka. This is the crux of the Sara. The crux of, what do you say, Sara. What my Nirvikalpaka position. Okay. I am coming to the point, next point. In the case of Nirvikalpaka, next point is the different positions of the Darshanikas systems.
Acharya,
About, please.
what is the relationship of these three Vishayatas in Nirvikalpa Gyan? Like you said that it is Nirupakatva Sambandha in Savikalpa Gyan. So what is the relation in Nirvikalpa Gyan?
Yes. That's a very pertaining question. I am coming to that point. Yes.
Thank you.
What I told, yes, now itself I explained you. What I told, three kinds of Vishayata do exist in Savikalpaka, don't exist in Nirvikalpaka. Though Ghatatva, Samsarga and other thing on Puravritti. These are objects of Nirvikalpaka. Okay. These are questions. Then what is the relationship between these objects and Nirvikalpaka? What is the relationship? That is called Turiya Vishayata. Turiya Vishayata, that is the fourth Vishayata. That is very specific. that is accepted only in the case of Nirvikalpaka, not in other cases. Nirvikalpaka has some peculiar relationship with its objects. Though the objects are identical, these objects only exist in Savikalpaka. But there in Savikalpaka, you find Prakarata, Visheshata, Samsargata. But in the case of Nirvikalpaka Jnana, you don't have those three Vishayatas, but Nyayika accept some fourth Vishayata, Turiya Vishayata. Turiya Vishayata is indescribable because Turiya Vishayata is accepted because since the Nirvikalpaka is one jnana, one kind of knowledge, some relation should be there with its objects. Some relationship should be told. But you cannot have Prakarata, Visheshyata, Samsargata, all these three things, three objecthoods. If you have, then Nirvikalpaka becomes Savikalpaka. Hence, to save its jnanatva, Nirvikalpakasya jnanatvam vaktaviyam kila. Jnanatvam vishayastu santi. Nirvikalpakam jnanam iti svikriyate. Prakarata, Visheshita, Samsargata tu vaktu na shakyate. Atah turiya vishayata svikriyate. Indescribable, it's not Turiya Vishayata ya Vyakhyanam. But it cannot be described. It cannot be describable. That is indescribable means Anirvachaniya. That is like that. There is something beyond our reach or conception. Okay. Now I am coming to the point of. The differences among the systems. Now we have explained the position of Nyayika, Tattva Chintamani and Navina Nyayika. But in the Prachina system, they hold that Nirvikalpaka is the cognition of Visheshana only. Nirvikalpaka grasps only Visheshana. That is the position of Prachina Nyayika. This is number 2, Navya Nyayika and Prachina Nyayika. Number 3, third position, Vyakarana position. They don't accept Nirvikalpaka. They don't accept.
Mहोदय प्राचीन नैयायिकानां मतं किमिति एकवारं
घटत्वमात्र विषयक ज्ञानं.
केवलं प्रकारस्य ज्ञानं.
प्रकार इति शब्दनास्ति, विशेषणस्य ज्ञानं.
विशेषणस्य ज्ञानं.
तत्र विशेषण ज्ञानम् इति कथनकाले विशेषणस्य ज्ञानम् इति वक्तव्यम्. तत्र प्रकारता निरूपकम् इति वक्तव्यं ज्ञानम्. ओके, प्रकारस्य ज्ञानं समीचीनं. विशेषणस्य ज्ञानं, प्रकारस्य ज्ञानं. द्वितीय पक्षः, third position, Vyakarana position. There is no Nirvikalpaka such as described by Nyayika. It is not at all correct. Because in every notion, Shabda is a qualifier. Anuviddham iva jnanam sarvam shabdena bhasate. When you find a thing, object, along with that finding, along with that understanding, you understand that word also. The signifying word is also is understood, recollected, along with Shabda only, along with the you say word referent. Along with that word referent only, you know things. That's why they say there is no such knowledge which is not Vishitta Jnana. Every jnana, every knowledge is Vishishta jnana only. Anuvidha viva jnana. Sarvam shabdena bhasate. So that is their position. And number 4, Advaitins, they don't accept Nirvikalpaka as told by Tarkika. They say, of course, the Nirvikalpaka Samadhi is there. That is there. There is no form. But in the mundane world, you don't have Nirvikalpaka described by Nyayika. And Dvaita Vedanta system, they do say that the Nirvikalpaka is not accepted by us as propounded by Nyayikas. They also refuted the theory of the Nyayikas. That is 5th Paksha. And the 6th Paksha is there, 6th position is there. Visishtadvaitans, they also don't accept Nyayika's theory as first one Visheshana Jnana emerges, then Vishishta Jnana. They say that when you have the contact with the part and the partners, you cannot say that partners is grasped and part is not grasped. How can you differentiate the things? Everything is if the contact is there, what is the difference? Then first knowledge emerges as first cognition emerges as Ayangata. Then it is called Nirvikalpaka in their position, but the second cognition is called Savikalpaka. Ayamapi Ghata. Ayamapi Ghata. This is also a part. So they also don't accept the kind of Nirvikalpaka prescribed by Nyayika, the 6th position. And the 7th position is their Bhatta Mimamsaka, the position of Mimamsaka, Bhatta Mimamsaka. They probably follow Nyayika theory. Sammugdhakaram jnanam. Sammugdha balamukadi vijnana sadrisham shuddha vastujam. That is what Vartika says. They say balamukadi vijnana, the dumb and the child at the earliest tender age, the knowledge of the dumb or bala is like Nirvikalpaka, they say. But in other terms, they follow Nyayika theory only. We have to discuss that one sometime. After some time, I will say about this one. And another position is there, Prabhakara Siddhanta. Prabhakara is one school of, it is one of the schools of Mimamsa system. They say, like Vishishtadvaitans, they say the first it is the thing along with partners grasped, then the Anuvrittatva, that is Api, Ayamapi Ghata. Anuvrittatva is grasped in second knowledge, that is called Savikalpaka. In Savikalpaka, samskara is supportive. Unless you have the samskara, you don't have the knowledge like Ayamapi Ghata. Ayamapi. He is also, one person is there, he is a clever person. He is also a clever. When you use the word also, then in your mind the samskara, then in your mind samskara is prevailing. Unless you have samskara, you cannot say he is also a clever man, clever person. Okay, this is the 8th position what I am saying. and some other positions are there. These are mainly discussed in our systems. So Nirvikalpaka, I think for only Nirvikalpaka we took 1 hour, but still we have to say a lot of things about Nirvikalpaka. Nirvikalpaka is one point one last point I am sharing with you. Udayanacharya asked, so Nirvikalpaka first emerges, then Savikalpaka. Then Savikalpaka cannot be a perceptual cognition because Anyatha Siddhi, because of the contact that causes Nirvikalpaka. Then Nirvikalpaka causes Savikalpaka. If your knowledge is caused by the contact between senses and object, then only it is called perception. Savikalpaka is caused by Nirvikalpaka. Then it cannot be called a perceptual cognition. Then Udayanacharya says, no, that is not the case. Up to the Savikalpaka, the contact existing, that remains. Contact remains. As long as the contact is remaining, the emerging knowledge can be called protection. Whereas in the case of Parvato Vanniman, there the contact is not necessary. The contact between Sandikarsha is not necessary. That's why it is not called protection. This kind of differentiation we come across in Udayanacharya's Kusumanjali, Nyaya Kusumanjali. Today we have discussed only Nirvikalpaka.
Mahoday, we can actually continue Nirvikalpaka tomorrow also, since if you.
But now our audience, they have got some Savikalpaka. If I continue Nirvikalpaka only, their knowledge will become Nirvikalpaka.
No, because you mentioned that there are many other points also. If we want, we can continue this tomorrow.
Maybe boring, but now itself I have used my most of the energy to because I didn't study translation in English. You are in Tirupati. I studied only original text. I didn't read English translations. But while describing these things in English, sometimes I think I may miss apt words. The words actually are used by the Hiriyanna and other people. Yes. I started learning some 25 years before that. I said, okay, my Guruji, my Ramanuja Tatacharya, he told me that you should read English translation also. Then only your position will blossom, flourish. He told. I started learning. It was very boring. But the original text is very handy. I can get the purport of that original text rapidly. That rapidity is missing in my English reading, secondary reading of secondary things. But anyhow, it should be helpful for the learners. That's why I used my English.
There is one question remaining on the chat. Samavayadihi samsargah katham samsargibhyam vina nirvikalpakam avagahati. That is a question that Andri Mahodaya has asked.
Samavaya is samavayaha avagamyate eva. Ghatopi avagamyate, purovarti api avagamyate. Samavayaha vina samsarginau avagahyate iti maya nochate. Sarvepi avagahyante. The thing is, the jnana is, what do you say in English? Jnanam tavat kinchit kim bhavati. एकस्मिन् उदाहरणं वदामि there is a box, everything is put in one box, that is savikalpaka. Everything is put in one box. Box contains many things. The containing is called speciality of nirvikalpaka. Savikalpaka. Nirvikalpaka grasps the things as it is, gatatva gata, like that. Samsarga is grasped, samsargi also, samsargi api grihyate eva. Kah klesha agatra.
आचार्य निर्विकल्पक ज्ञानस्य अपेक्षा का नैयायिकाः कथं समर्थयन्ति?
तदेव च विशेषणज्ञानं विना विशिष्टज्ञानं न भवति किल. प्रथमतः घटत्वज्ञानं नास्ति चेत्
विशेषज्ञानमपि सविकल्पज्ञानेनैव न भवति इति वा?
न सविकल्पकज्ञानं तु विशेषणविशिष्टज्ञानं, ततः पूर्वं विशेषणज्ञानं भवति. मया इदानीं बहवः पक्षाः उक्ताः किल, ते सर्वेपि विशिष्टज्ञानं प्रति विशेषणज्ञानं कारणमिति न स्वीकुर्वन्ति. अत एव ते एवं वदन्ति, एतादृश निर्विकल्पकं मास्तु इति वदन्ति. तत्र विचारः अपि बहु वर्तते. मया विशिष्टज्ञानं प्रति विशेषज्ञानं कारणमिति एकः लेखः लिखितः बहुकालात् पूर्वं. परन्तु नैयायिकमते एव विशिष्टज्ञानं प्रति विशेषज्ञानं कारणमिति दीधितिकारः न स्वीकरोति. तत्र चिन्तामणौ तु स्वीकृतम् अस्ति.
तथापि निर्विकल्पज्ञानम् अङ्गीकुर्वन्ति वा?
निर्विकल्पकं तु अङ्गीकृतम्.
दीधितिकारेण कार्यकारणभावः न अङ्गीक्रियते, तत्रापि निर्विकल्पज्ञानम् अङ्गीकृतं वा?
तत्र भवत्याः प्रश्नः अयमस्ति इति भाति. विशिष्टज्ञानं प्रति विशेषज्ञानं कारणं न इति वदति दीधितिकारः, तर्हि निर्विकल्पकं किमर्थं सः स्वीकरोति?
एवं
सः तत्स्थाने एवम् अङ्गीकरोति, विशिष्टवैशिष्ट्यज्ञानं प्रति विशेषणतावच्छेदकप्रकारकज्ञानं कारणं. विशिष्टवैशिष्ट्यज्ञानं प्रति विशेषणतावच्छेदकप्रकार, पश्यतु, घटमहं जानामि इति विशिष्टवैशिष्ट्यज्ञानं, तत्र विशेषणतावच्छेदकप्रकारकज्ञानं अयं घटः इति ज्ञानं, तत् कारणम्. अयं घटः इति ज्ञानं कारणं. तत्र अयं घटः इति ज्ञानं तु विशेषण, तत्तु सर्वेषां बोर् भवति इति मन्यामः संस्कृते उच्यते चेत्. इदं अहं तु भवती मम कृते वाट्सप् करोतु, अहं अवश्यं लिखितुम् अहम् असमर्थः अस्मि, वाय्स् द्वारा वदामि.
अवश्यं।
भवती का अस्ति पृच्छवती?
अहं सुष्मा अस्मि।
सुष्मा अन्तर्निहिता अस्ति। ओके, समीचीनं. श्वः पश्यामः वा?
अस्तु महोदय, तथैव।
धन्यवादः. श्वः पश्यामः. श्वः कः विषयः इदानीमेव वदामि. सन्निकर्षविषये वदामः, अभावविषये प्रथमतः अभावविषये वदामि, अनन्तरम् अलौकिकसन्निकर्षविषये वदामि.
अवश्यं, धन्यवादः.